Gentlemen,
I'm Cyclops.
Let's talk X-Men, Days of Future Past. So, X-Men, big franchise, 7 movies, and here we are with Days of Future Past. It's big, it's huge, and it's worthy to be part of the second edition of our brand new review format. Let's talk about the characters. Sean, tell me, what do you think about the characters?
I think it was strong all around. There were a few standouts like James McAvoy, Charles Xavier, and Michael Fassbender as Magneto. I can never remember his real name. Especially Fassbender, great presence, as always. Jennifer Lawrence got a much better role this time around compared to First Class. I liked seeing her take on a bigger and better role.
Yeah, I agree. There's a developing storyline here behind all of our favorite characters, and they're responsible for having that, weight on them. So I think they all do a fantastic job with all their storylines, and I think, again, Fassbender is just a great presence. That plane scene...
Love the plane scene.
Yeah, fantastic.
Michael Fassbender always has a stunning presence on screen. He absolutely owns every scene he's in. It's really powerful, especially as Magneto. Personally, I thought that Jennifer Lawrence's performance, particularly, since she had a big role in this, she was kind of phoning it in. I never really got the sense like she was really into it. Her character is kind of written to be sort of like spacey, like kind of distant, so I guess she was working with difficult material, but I just don't think she put in enough effort to really obtain that character's true like nature and whatnot.
How dare you speak ill of Jennifer Lawrence?
So the characters, they're important, but they gotta be doing things. And the sequence of characters doing things is known as the plot. And you guys have some strong opinions about the plot. Larry, what do you think about the plot?
The plot's amazing. I think the plot is a fantastic part of the movie. It's so intriguing, it's interesting. The best part about it, in my opinion, is that it works at such a good pace. I mean, you have a plot here that's incredibly high octane at times, and there's a lot going on. Yet, with all these events happening, to still have a good pace where you're still invested just as much with each event that's happening, I find it incredibly impressive it was managing to keep that up.
Yeah, see, I agree. It did move very quickly, but my favorite part about it was definitely just how character-driven it was. Every major event that happens in the plot is because of some character and their fault or strengths. I think it was incredibly well thought out in that regard.
For me, a lot of the time, it never really, like, the events that happened never got really as much weight as they deserved. Like, it was going well, but just, it didn't strive to make certain aspects of the plot as important as they should be. It was fun, but I didn't really care that much.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
No, I don't know either.
One of the big parts about X-Men Days of Future Past, if you couldn't tell by the title, is the time travel and how it fixes up the ongoing timeline that's been around since 1999, 15 years. So, Sean, how do you think this timeline works out?
Well, I liked what they did. It's a very clean reset. It's about time to get some fresh blood in, and this allows them... It's very smart. It allows them to keep going with the new cast. It lets them keep the series going where previously it was getting stale.
Yeah, I gotta agree. This little timeline paradigm shift that they did helps rejuvenate the franchise. So I think it'll be interesting to see how they kind of reshape with the timeline. I think it was just a really, as Sean said, a really clean reset.
It is time to move on.
I think it focuses too much on trying to clean up the franchise's timeline. I think it, instead of like telling its own story, it just kind of goes back. It's like a janitor like mopping up the floor after like a really rough party. Like there were some good moments, there were some bad moments, and this guy is just kind of making sure that everything is like clean and back to normal with that. And I don't really know if that works out that well. It just seems like...
But at least the floor is clean. And my opinion is the janitor was really awesome.
Oh, we're working off analogies. I don't agree with you, Max. I don't think the movie was too focused on it. I just think that was kind of the whole idea from the beginning. I think Singer kind of walked into this movie knowing, you know what, I don't like where this series is going, and I want to try something new. And even though that might seem a little weird with business practices and such, I feel just as narratively speaking, it works perfectly within their universe.
Of course, there's something about X-Men movies that they all have in common. they all have things, characters doing things, and sometimes these things are explosions, and I want to talk about the action is what I'm trying to get at.
Okay, I was okay with you taking plot down to its smallest conveyances, but now you're literally defining action by
characters
dictionary.
Doing things, that's action. So, Harry, what do you think about the action?
Action was great. It was stimulating. A lot of great visuals going on here, especially the last set piece in particular. Just blew me away, and there were so many moments where I was like, that was so cool, and like I don't really say that often in movies.
For me, it was just kind of, I mean, it was fine, definitely, there was some good stuff, but the one thing that really just stood out to me was Blink, and how she had like the portals. It was pretty much Portal, the fighting game, like she was just using it. That was
Portal
really
Combat.
Yeah. Portal Combat.
Yeah, I think we can all agree the action is a lot of fun. But the action, the story, the characters, these are all big parts. But of course, there's not everything that we can talk about, so sometimes we have additional comments. And Sean, you have an additional comment, don't you?
Yes, I have a few. First, they had a lot of fun with the time travel. I appreciated that. I really liked Bryan Singer's direction. I think they should keep him on as director. And, yeah, it has the best title ever. Still, Days of Future Past. Oh, and the after the credit scene, which you should stay for, is probably the most expensive after the credit scene I've ever seen.
I only have one major additional comment, and that's that the suspense is just great. It was so gripping because they make you really care about these characters. So just seeing them go through all of these events just really, makes you really feel for them, and when things happen, you care.
Personally, I would have found the story a lot more interesting if it had begun from the perspective of James McAvoy's Professor X. The movie begins with Wolverine being sent back in time, and I get that. I think it's contextual with the comic, but I think it would have been interesting just to see how he would react, just as we would react to Wolverine telling him this. But of course, it's time to go, guys. But before we go, it's time for the final thoughts and our theses. Sean, what is your thesis?
I think Days of Future Past is actually pretty miraculous. It manages to be a fun summer blockbuster and a complete franchise reset while maintaining its interesting philosophical core and strong, character-driven narrative. I want to stress that one more time. And it's actually the first X-Men movie that I can honestly say I loved. And I will be giving X-Men Days of Future Past an 8.5 out of 10.
X-Men Days of Future Past is just a brilliant example of how you can have so much on your plate as far as a superhero movie goes, because we've seen that quite often. But yet, you can go at such a great pace, and everything can just mesh together so brilliantly. And honestly, I don't really feel that weird saying that, honestly, this is probably the best X-Men film that we have had so far. I am going to give X-Men Days of Future Past a 9 out of 10.
That's quite a score. See, I'm different from you guys. The 7th installment in the X-Men franchise feels like a callback to the early days of the series, and it shares a lot of its best and worst features, which averages out to, for me, a 7 out of 10.
I don't get it. I don't get the 7.
That just about does it for us, guys, but make sure you check out rule3rds.com for plenty of more content. And stay with us, for in just a little under 2 weeks, we're going to be taking a look at the controversial Seth MacFarlane's A Million Ways to Die in the West. So make sure
Oh, damn it. Why'd you shoot me, Sean?
That's just how things work around here. Until next time, guys, stay classy, and we'll see you around. And make sure you check out rule3rds.com for more fun.